Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a huge update in regards to the current rare earth situation. We know China has restricted the U.S. access to some of the key rare earths. The U.S. does have a significant amount of our own rare earths. The problem is the refinement of the rare earths. It's a big environmental problem with the EPA. And so even when we mine and extract the rare earths from California, North Dakota, and other places, most of them get shipped to China for refinement. That's why about 90% of our rare earths come through the refinement within China. Even if they do technically get mined in other countries like Japan, they all ship them to China because China has the refinement infrastructure to be able to properly process them, and they deal with the environmental factors when it comes to that. But how does this all tie into Greenland and Trump trying to acquire it? Now, we know, yes, the United States has a significant supply of our own rare earths, but Greenland, according to reports and some of the soil samples and what's just along the coastline, Greenland has almost as many rare earths as the United States. They've got the largest untapped rare earth deposit in the world in southern Greenland. And so when you're talking about the refinement and dealing with all of these environmental problems, you could understand the idea of potentially setting up a huge refinement process on Greenland and using Greenland as a safeguard for rare earth refinement if it's a big issue. Now, I also think based on how big the United States is, you could argue maybe Alaska's in play as well in terms of rare earth refinement. I'm not saying the best strategy here would be to extract the rare earths from California and then ship them to Greenland for refinement. I think we need to set up certain areas in the United States, remote areas away from population, where you can properly refine the rare earths so we don't have to ship them far. But I'm just saying it's important to have rare earth diversification. And this is really three different things that we've heard from Trump that we don't know if they're happening or not, but this is just what we're seeing from the Trump administration. So you have Greenland, which obviously has a very large deposit of rare earths along the coastlines. They are extractable right now. We could be looking at even more resources within the glacier ice, under the glacier ice within Greenland. And we'll have to see what happens in terms of glacier melt. Obviously, Greenland, it's an even bigger thing in terms of the security within the Arctic and the Arctic Circle, the amount of Greenland within the Arctic Circle. It is very important for the United States and really for North America, because we view Greenland as really part of North America based on where it's located. It's right to the east of Canada. And so Greenland for security is extremely vital. The Northwest Passage, Baffin Bay, the Davis Strait. We want control of all those waterways. We want access to all those waterways over China and Russia. But also it is because of the rare earths. So you have Greenland rare earths. You have Ukraine rare earths, possibly doing a deal with them. Now, that's another thing in terms of extraction within Ukraine and wherever we end up trying to mine the rare earths. Really, they're all over Ukraine, and then there's huge deposits within the Donbass area or the Donbass region, which is controlled by Russia. Although in the Donbass, that's mainly other natural resources outside of rare earths. But the point is, we might also be doing a deal with Russia for rare earths within the Donbass. So Trump is trying to really accelerate the idea of rare earth diversification for the United States. And you're talking about upping the refinement. That's why there's a $15 or $15 billion investment reportedly into the United States. This was foreign money that's now going to be invested into refining efforts in the U.S. so we're not as reliant on China. And this is another thing for Trump's legacy. He's able to do this. How about refinement on Greenland, refinement within the U.S.? Now we've got significant rare earth diversification, and we don't have to be reliant on China. This is the key stuff that Trump is doing, and it's why it's so important for the United States to look into Greenland, look into investing within the United States, the environmental concerns, all of this, deregulating that in certain areas with low population, keeping it away from the citizens. It's all very key. And also maybe even looking at remote parts of Alaska for refinement as well, if it were to come to that. But either way, the reliance on China has to stop. The rare earths is just another example of it, and it's another example of why Greenland is Very, very important, not just for security, like Trump says, because that's really what you have to swing to the public. It's for security. We need it. It's for Arctic control, but it's also the rare earth deposits in southern Greenland and really just all along the coast where the extraction zones are plentiful. And I mean, that's just because the center of the country is a total ice sheet. Because I'm sure there's a lot of resources within Greenland that right now cannot be accessed because of the ice. And we'll have to see what happens with that in the future. But this could be a huge boom in terms of the United States acquiring Greenland and then finding 20, 30, 40 trillion dollars worth of natural resources on it. We might only have to spend 30 or 40 billion dollars for Greenland itself. It is just crazy. But either way, guys, we know it's so important. We know Beijing has monopoly on the rare earths right now. In terms of the refinement, we have rare earths in the United States, significant deposits. A lot of people have rare earths. The problem is the refinement and the environmental factors that go into that. And so that's what Trump is trying to do. We're trying to build up the refinement infrastructure, and that's why you add Greenland to the mix and we refine rare earths in Greenland. Now we're refining rare earths in the United States. We're refining rare earths in Greenland. We might be refining rare earths in Ukraine, or we might be extracting the rare earths in Ukraine, shipping them to Greenland, and they get refined in Greenland, and then they get shipped to the United States. All of these processes can happen now. And this is if we sign a rare earths deal with Ukraine. People don't want us to because they say, well, we shouldn't tether ourselves to Ukraine. But if you look at the original ceasefire agreement that Ukraine signed and the minerals deal that was going to be signed that got leaked, we didn't have any security assurances to Ukraine. We didn't have any. So that's really good news, because if we can extract rare earths from Ukraine without any security assurances, I think that's the best case scenario for the United States. And it's the European NATO countries, it's the EU that really, along with the UK, needs to put up or shut up when it comes to Ukraine and their security, because Ukraine's not a part of NATO. They're trying to become a part of the EU. That's why the minerals deal got held up. I did a video on it a few weeks ago, because we were going to control so much of their natural resources under our minerals deal with Ukraine. And that's why Zelensky came out and said, well, no, it was a grant, not a loan, and that's why we don't have to repay it. Because he's like, listen, we're trying to get into the EU. This is going to affect our candidate status if we don't have control of our natural resources, because they don't even view us as a sovereign country then. I mean, that's seriously what happened. But it's very important. We have just rare earth diversification, refinement diversification. That's the key thing. Refinement zones, refinement set up in the United States, in remote areas, refinement in Greenland, refinement in Ukraine, refinement in the Donbass. It's all the rare earths. And this is really, it's going to take a long time to do this, but you set all these things up, you get them into motion. We're sick of having 80 to 90%. I mean, it's 90% of our rare earth refinement come through China. So this trade deal, is it really going to be this huge crisis that we don't have access to these rare earths for a short period of time? Not really, but it illuminates the issue. And it shows and it exposes the reliance that we have on China that simply must end. And this is the whole point of this trade war with China. We're trying to end the reliance. And so right now, it's not like, well, we can tell China to just we don't need them and whatever. We have to set all of this up. We still need the rare earths from China for now. The point is we have to wean ourselves off of it. So when we do the trade deal with China or whatever it ends up being in a few months, I mean, now Beijing's come out. Beijing is just so obsessed with global posture. Like, it's unbelievable. Now they're saying, well, they have to respect, the U.S. officials have to respect them to even negotiate a trade deal. That's what Beijing is saying. And so they know how important it is for them to look good on the global stage against the United States. And they are really being annoying. And we knew the Chinese were going to do this. They really don't care about their citizens suffering. It's a lot. Their citizens can also take a lot more than U.S. citizens can in terms of the economy. And then I saw something that's like, well, now for the first time, I responded to it on Twitter. It's like the first time since, I don't know, 2013 or something. I don't remember what date it was. The American citizens trust Democrats with the economy more than Republicans. And it's just short-term economic loss. I've already explained it. I can really argue in favor of the economy for Trump with anything because of how the economy works, because there's trade-offs. If there's a negative, there's always going to be a positive. If there's a positive, there's always going to be a negative. The point of maneuvers within the economy is to try and go for a massive positive with a small negative. And so when you talk about a trade war, you immediately think, well, it's a big negative. Well, no, it's a small negative at the start, and then it's a huge positive, and we're going to see what happens within the next years. And there are so many different things at play when it comes to the economic situation within the United States that people don't mention. When it comes to inflation, the rate cuts, the refinancing of the massive debt that we have coming up in 2026 with hopefully lower interest rates that'll be really caused because of this trade war. But listen, that's just the big stuff when it comes to this. I mean, this is why Greenland is needed. We want an extraction, a refinement zone in Greenland. It's going to take time to set up, but if we could do that, if we could have refinement areas in the United States, and then we also get rare earths. I mean, this is the rare earth diversification. We're getting them from 3 or 4 different countries at this point: United States, Ukraine, Russia, Greenland. So see how important it is. But we also do have this, and really, this is why I say, at least at the start of Trump's presidency, this is one of his crowning achievements. I mean, this is crazy because you can see the border crossings, and they're all so consistent. 173K, 222K, 193K, 189K. It's all around 180 to 190K. Biden's 4 years. The lowest rate was 173. 11,000 in 2025. Crazy. I mean, that's a drop that was like 95% drop. And this is exactly what we voted for. I know people are mad about the deportations, but the border crossings are, I mean, they've sealed the border basically. It is impressive. So guys, make sure you like this video, please. Like the video, and that's going to do it. Make sure you follow me on X as well. Link to that's always in the description.